Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway was probably, a good start. We started really fast. We created a lot of chances and probably should have put the game to bed there in the first half an hour. And then I think a few learnings after that. We went a little bit negative probably towards half time and it invited a bit too much pressure and, conceding that goal just before half time killed our momentum a bit. And then we actually played a little bit better in the second half when we came out. And then obviously to concede a 2-0 lead at home was disappointing, but there was also some massive positives with some of the new boys coming in and playing really well with a lot of energy, and there was definitely some positive signs there for us to move forward with.
David mentioned post-game, you felt the pressure on the ball kind of dissipated after you guys went 2-0 up. He felt that guys were able to, obviously they had the extra man or two in midfield, which certainly helped, but he said he felt the pressure kind of drop was the biggest reason for Phoenix being able to get back into the game. Is that something you've worked on this week, identifying when to drop but still have pressure on the ball and when to press?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think also it's a difficult situation when you're 2-0 up and you probably see 42 minutes and you're thinking of kind of getting into half time with that 2-0 lead. So I think it was more a mentality thing rather than a physical thing, because I think physically, like you could see in that first 30 minutes, there was, I think, a big difference between the teams. We looked much sharper and quicker across the ground, especially going forward with JK and Despo and Tags. Every time we went forward, I felt like we looked like the physically better team. So I guess it's probably more of a mentality thing to keep the foot on the throat there. And we have done a little bit of work defensively. When to drop, because we know Melbourne City are a good team with the ball. They're away from home. They're definitely going to have a period where we're under pressure. So we've done a bit of video on that and looked back at where we could get better. And, so hopefully that'll keep us in good stead for the weekend.
You played wing-back on the weekend. You played wing-back a fair bit throughout the pre-season as well. How have you found that adjustment to that role, and what was your initial reaction when Thriller asked you how you felt about playing as a wing-back?
Yeah, I think left wing-back was a little spanner in the works. I knew when Suts went down the week before that I knew I can play there. I'm a versatile player and I pride myself on that throughout my career, doing things for the team, and, I'm happy to play anywhere. I think one of my biggest strengths is my versatility. I can play, pretty much anywhere on the pitch. I think I said to my old man after, if one more keeper goes down here, I think that's the last position I've got to tick off in the A-League. So, no, it was good. I said to Driller straight away when he asked me to do it, I'll do it. And it's a little bit foreign to me, but with my athleticism and with the ball playing as a winger, it's not too different to what I'm used to anyway.
How did you find that link up with Sebastian on the weekend? It looked like you were having a lot of success early when he was drifting inside and it allowed you to push on and press up a bit more. But how have you found the freedom to go forward from that wing back position, and particularly the understanding you seem to have with Seb, even though he's such a young player?
Yeah, he's a top player. He's actually he's really smart player. The positions he picks up and the way he moves, he's kind of a little bit awkward in the way he moves, but in a good way. He's got a beautiful drop of the shoulder. He's really tidy on the ball, so he's a top player to link up with, because you can always give him the ball and he can make something happen. And then the game was kind of a really different game in the fact that they played so high. It was hard for us to actually keep the ball for long periods of time because they gave us such a high line. It felt like, that killer pass was always on. So we didn't quite keep the ball and didn't have a lot of possession, which has been mentioned by a lot of people. But it was actually quite a difficult game to keep the ball because they gave us that high line. And you saw Seb in probably the first half an hour create 2 or 3 opportunities out of being really positive with that killer pass. And he's really impressed me, especially the last month. He's really grown into his body, and he's a goldfish, Seb. He forgets everything, so he's a good player to play with, because even when he loses the ball, the next time he'll make a positive action, because he's just such a good kid. And I was really happy for him to get out there on the weekend, and I think it gave not only us players a lift, but also for the fans to see that last name on the back of the jersey again. It was a really feel-good story from the weekend.
Yeah, what are you, obviously you didn't grow up in WA, but what are your memories of Bobby Despotovsky, when, if you have any of him at all, and yeah, what have you been saying to Seb as well? It's obviously hard for a young player to come into senior football. Has he lent on you for advice?
Yeah, I just said to him, obviously his old man's a top player. We've all seen all the goals his old man scored. Johnny Warren medalist, I think, as well. So, but I think it's important. I just said to him to, make your own name. I guess, he's actually quite a different player to his dad. He's very technical. He's really comfortable on the ball. He can bring others into play, and I just told him to enjoy it. When I was at Central Coast and I was a local boy and made my debut there, I remember running out and, all your schoolmates and all your family there in the crowd, and I said, you might not get this opportunity ever again, or one day you'll look back when you're playing overseas or something and probably look back at that moment and think how cool it was. So he's just a really happy kid, and he's full of confidence at the moment. So you don't want to overload him with information. It's more just feeding his confidence and giving him the belief that he can show his qualities, which he did on the weekend.
And return to your old stomping ground at Melbourne City on the weekend. How obviously the A League in the A League, there's a lot of players who play for a lot of different clubs. But what is it like, going back to a place you once called home? Does it feel kind of different if you with the more clubs you play for, or is it still the same feeling every time you go back there?
I'm really grateful for Melbourne City. I signed my first ever professional contract there, and they gave me a chance to play in the A-League, and a massively successful organisation. You've seen over the last 10 years of the A-League, they've been the benchmark, and the way they run their club and the way they bring junior players through from all over Australia, I think it's a credit to them. And watching them last year, they were probably a different team to what we're used to seeing. They actually defended really well, I thought, in the finals, and they were really hard to beat, and they obviously have those class players up front that can hurt you. But the club, as you said, with the A-League at the moment and the financial situation the A-League's in, it's tough for players to stay at clubs for long, and it is a frustration, for us players to, I guess, always have to move because, financially at this time, the clubs can't keep on to these players that are experienced, and it's nothing against the clubs, and I think if you even ask the clubs, they would love to keep these older players for longer, but it's just the way the league is at the moment. And as I said, massive respect for the club there and the people that run the club there, and I only had good memories at that club and all the clubs I've been at, and I look at them and they're the benchmark, and that's what we have to get to here in Perth, and we're building from the bottom here, and we've got to get it all the way up there to the top. So it's going to be a great test this weekend.